So I'm saying, certainly. So I think that asking the question, how corona is similar or different to AIDS and influenza is a question that people are asking and concerned about. Polio is a good example because the vaccine has been wonderfully successful. And it too is of the same viral genome composition. It's made of RNA. And so it gives me the opportunity to compare corona, and also it gives me the option of saying that in contrast to flu, influenza, and HIV, you say SIDA? You say SIDA?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
SIDA, yeah, see.
SIDA,
So,
yes.
I think that corona has a very good chance of ultimately having a very effective and useful vaccine. And so it gives a balance and a dynamics in the discussion to allow me to also be a bit optimistic for a first question, an opening question. Another question that people often ask is that the experience with SARS coronavirus way back in 2002, 2003, is that by the summer in July of 2003, it seemed like the epidemic just simply died out. And people, at least initially, with the current COVID-19 epidemic, people were hoping, and President Trump and others said, you know, in the summer, it's going to go away.
Yes.
And so on. And the question then happens to be, what is the difference? Why do we have a horrific epidemic now in contrast to what was in the previous SARS coronavirus epidemic? And so these are questions that if you pose them to me, we can discuss them in a more casual sense of a conversation.
Okay.
And then open up questions. And if people are asking, or you can think of other questions.
I have a question for you.
There have been people who've asked me, yes, go ahead.
Many people are saying that it's going to be
Yes,
a vaccine, that they already have it or they are preparing. Also in Mexico, I have people preparing a vaccine or something. How to know when the vaccine is really, that it will be correct? Because
So,
this is a competition, and just to say, I got it, it can be very
Yeah.
helpful that somebody told me, I'm not going to use
Okay,
it
so we can ask,
because it's Chinese.
sure, we can ask two questions here, two questions. One question is if I can explain and describe the differences of the different vaccines that people are developing.
Yes.
We hear about RNA vaccine of Moderna, and then we hear President Putin talking about the Russian vaccine, which is an adenovirus vaccine. And then we hear about possibly AstraZeneca, which is using a chimpanzee adenovirus. And the question bears as to, as just a general person in the public, I'm confused. There are so many different modalities, platforms, approaches to vaccination. Which should I rely on? So one of the questions that you can ask and I can deal with is, can I compare the different types of a vaccine and also give you some sense as to, are these vaccines the same vaccines that we trust? Because we've all vaccinated our children and we rely on vaccines, and we know that there's the measles and there's the tetanus and there's polio vaccine, and smallpox has been eradicated by vaccine. And the question is why are we not using the traditional vaccines? Why are people suggesting RNA or adenovirus vaccines or other vaccines instead of simply using, for example, polio was the killed polio vaccine, Salk vaccine, was growing up the virus and inactivating it chemically with formaldehyde. So it was a killed, inactivated vaccine. Is there an inactivated corona vaccine? And if so, why aren't we using it? Why are we going to these new technologies? Because to be honest, all of the vaccines that people are talking about, Trump and Bibi and I don't know what's being said in Mexico, but most of the vaccines that are on the normal popular discussion are all new technology. There's not one vaccine currently used in common practice which is similar to the new vaccines they're trying to develop for corona. And I'm not necessarily convinced that this is the right approach. So this is one question. Mm-hmm. Can we compare the different vaccines? Can we talk about them and compare them to traditional vaccines? The second question, Yitzhak, is what you said. When do I know that a vaccine is safe? Or how do I know a vaccine is effective? What is the process? What needs to be done, and how convinced can I be? And is there politics in this? Now, we know that Putin has approved of a vaccine that has not been proven to be safe or effective. There's been very minimal amount of testing, but for political reasons, it was necessary for Putin to be able to say historically that the first vaccine for coronavirus ever approved was Russian. And so it's not fortuitous that he calls the vaccine Sputnik V. So, you know, this is to sort of stick it to the Americans and say, here, Sputnik has beat you again in the competition. This is basically total and complete nonsense. Now, I know that currently in the United States, there's very serious concern and some comments that President Trump may surprise people in October, just before the elections, and announce that he has approved a vaccine. Now, in the United States, the approval process is done very meticulously and very transparently by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Yes. But the US government has recently passed laws saying that the president can actually override the FDA and approve the vaccine. So we have to make the distinction. What is the difference of a political leader approving the vaccine as compared to how much confidence we should have in that vaccine? And so the fact that people are making claims that we've completed one given clinical trial, we're closer to the vaccine. What you really want to know is only one thing. It's very simple. What you want to know is when you can go to your doctor or to your health plan, say, please give me the vaccine, roll up your sleeve, get a shot, and know that you are protected. That's the only thing you want to know. You couldn't care less about phase 1, phase 2, RNA, is proclaiming you want to know when is there going to be an effective and safe vaccine. And I doubt that there's going to be the access to an effective vaccine much before Rosh Hashanah 2021, at least in a year from now. Now, is that a lot of time or not? I don't know.
It depends.
We have to learn how to live with the virus. And living with the virus is obviously difficult in the sense that we don't have patience. And I've made the comment that living with HIV/AIDS, we've learned how to live with the virus, and it's easier to wear a mask than a condom. And so, you know, we can learn. It is true, however, that HIV/AIDS is transmitted in a much different way. And so, whereas COVID-19 virus, the SARS coronavirus 2, is transmitted via micro droplets when we see each other in a room and we don't have to be intimate. Nonetheless, wearing a mask is a very, very good idea. However, people have to understand that the most effective part of wearing a mask is not to protect you, but to prevent transmission. And people are getting all of this confused. So these are points that we can discuss, and I think that it makes for an easy dialogue. I'll try to keep my discussion and my description simple and not too technical.
Thank you.
It's very easy for me to go into technicalities, but I don't think that's not my intent. I don't need anybody to be impressed by me. That's not what I'm trying to do. But rather, I'm trying to help and share some of whatever knowledge I have so as to answer questions which are genuine questions and of concern. And so I will try to keep it within the context of what I believe you can understand, but you can stop me at any point and ask me to clarify, and through a dialogue and a discussion, we'll make sure that it's understandable.